Hi folks, it's Andy. Welcome to this week's Kendo Rant. Okay, so here we are for another week of fantastic questions. We've got quite a lot to go at today. We're going to jump to them in just a moment. But before we do, there's a few things we have to talk about. First, we need to increase the Kendo population, okay? We're aiming to get to 3 billion people starting Kendo. We've already had 9 million or something like that start already. The way it works, you've got to like, share, subscribe, write a comment down below and enable notifications, all right? If you do that, we will grow the Kendo population exponentially, all right? Now, the way that works is that YouTube sends out some robot ninjas. They go and find Kendo people, well, would-be Kendo people, and they get them to start Kendo, all right? But the only way you can do it is you have to activate them by liking the video, the thumbs up that switches them on. Then you have to subscribe and click the little triangle and go to the bell that says notifications. That notifies them that they've got a job to do. And then so they know what they're doing, you have to go to the comments and write a comment that uses the word Kendo. So something like, wow, this was such a good Kendo video. Wow, this is the best Kendo channel I've ever seen, or something like that. And they'll know that it's Kendo that we're trying to improve, okay? And then they'll go out and they'll do that, and we'll get even more people into this beautiful art of Kendo, okay? I'm pretty sure that's how it works anyway. I mean, obviously, YouTube and Google haven't told me that. I reached out to them to confirm it with them, and they didn't reply, so I'm going to take their silence as affirmation. I think that means yes, all right? So I'm pretty sure that's right. I'm pretty sure the numbers I'm talking about are correct as well. Obviously, we don't have a way of accurately measuring it, but I'm pretty sure that's correct, okay? And more important than that, though, is if you do like this video, if you like the videos that I put out, whether it's these videos, whether it's the videos like the feedback videos that I did. Yesterday I put a video out where I watch videos that you guys send in, and we give you feedback, and we hopefully everybody learns something. We answer questions in Kendo Rant. We've got instructional content. Done one of those recently. I've got more in the works as well. We've got analytical content where I watch Kendo and give a sort of bit of a analytical deep dive into what's happening. Last one I did of those, I know it's been a little while. The last one I did of those was one of my own shiai, yeah, that I went all the way to Japan especially for, called Kenkaku. It was a fun little shiai that I did. So yeah, if you like those videos, it's all free. We don't ask you a monthly subscription fee. You don't have to pay for subtitles. You don't have to rent the videos with points, none of that nonsense. All you have to do is shop at KendoStar to support the channel. Now, KendoStar is the best Kendo equipment website in the galaxy, universe, multiverse, Milky Way, all of the planets, everywhere, at any time, future, history. Look, it's the best. KendoStar's the best, all right? Now, of course, I'd say that because I own the place, but it's true, all right? We're best in the world. Pretty sure that's, you know, that's pretty undisputed, let's be honest, all right? We're the highest rated on Trustpilot. We're one of the highest rated e-commerce stores on Trustpilot, not even like Kendo stores, on Trustpilot as a whole, all right? That's independently reviewed. You can't put fake reviews on or anything like that. They're all real reviews. We're the best at what we do, all right? You get the best quality, you get the best service, all right? We're a proper brand. We're not selling it out out of our bedrooms or basements or garage, whatever. Not drop shipping stuff. We're the original and the best. All right? Okay, the original international Kendo brand. KendoStar. All right? Shop at KendoStar. All right? That's going to support the channel. Okay, let's get to these questions. Sensei once told me once that it made me cry. Oh, right. So that's Sensei told me that once, it made me cry. That's a quote from me from the last video, right? Great video, Andy. Thanks again for contributing to the Kendo community. Not 100%, but I think if they're 8th dan, we should definitely call them sensei. Pretty sure they deserve it. I got a chance to work with Kato sensei for a very brief moment. Curious to know how often you've had the chance to work with 8th dan yourself, Andy. I've heard that it's rare even in Japan. Okay, so actually even in Japan, the achievement of 8th dan doesn't automatically bestow the title of sensei. It really depends on the context. There's super famous, like super high level 8th dan, Hanshi 8th dan senseis that aren't called sensei by everybody, right? They're not called sensei by everybody. And that's even in a Kendo context, okay? So that's one thing, all right? But yes, I agree. For the most part, especially us outside of Japan, if they've got 8th dan, I think it's definitely fair to refer to them as sensei. Okay, or I think my only point that I was trying to make on it was I think we probably sort of bestow a little bit too much grandeur or sort of like mysticism even to the title of sensei when it's just like it's just another way of saying mister, you know what I mean, or Mrs. or Ms. or whatever. Yeah, it's just another way of addressing somebody. All right, it's not like oh holy one or something like that, you know, or your majesty, your holiness, or whatever, your graciousness, or all the other ones that Han Solo comes out with. It's not that, and I think we have a bit of a tendency to ascribe that to it. Now, the other thing about your question, which is how often I've had the chance to work with 8th dans. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty rare in Japan. It's not like super common, but it's not that hard either. If you seek them out, you can usually get access to Hachidan Sensei. It's not too difficult. But at the same time, like, of course, Hachidan Senseis are Hachidan because they have great Kendo ability. Otherwise, they wouldn't pass the Hachidan exam, right? But it's not that all fantastic senseis are Hachidans. There's plenty of fantastic senseis that are not necessarily Hachidans, right? So some of my best Kendo teachers aren't necessarily Hachidans. Some of them are. So yeah, it really depends though. But funnily enough, probably I've had more access to Hachidan senseis in Europe than I have from living in Japan, to be honest. When I lived in Kyoto, I could access them pretty easily because there was the Bitokuden, and you know there's one there pretty much every day, and sometimes several. But probably like in realistically, yeah, when I moved to Kyushu, I probably practiced Hachidan Sensei maybe once or twice a month. So a little bit more than I do here in Europe, to be fair. Obviously, we don't have any Hachidan Senseis in the UK. But I counted up last year. I think last year, 2023, I think I managed to practice with 11 Hachidan Senseis, different Hachidan Senseis, throughout the course of the year. Now, I did take a trip to Japan, and I practiced with 3 in one day at one point. Okay, so that's one thing, in fairness, all right? So, and yeah, while I was in Japan, I think I practiced with 4 or 5 different Hachidan senseis whilst I was there. So that was that. And then we had several come. We went to, obviously, I was the Shinpan at the European Championships, so had access to practice at the European Championships. 3 Hachidan senseis that came to there. There was another seminar in the UK that had 4 Hachidan senseis come to. We had another seminar in the UK with another Hachidan sensei come to. So, you know, it's quite, you know, it's not impossible. So yeah, it depends though. In Japan, you know, it depends how hard you seek it out at the same time. Hello Sensei, last week I asked a question about my pulling the shinai back. Sorry for not being clear. My doubt was about pulling the shinai back before the strike, not after hitting. I've been trying to improve this point for over a year, but despite consciously understanding what needs to be done, I can't seem to improve. Anyway, thank you for the great answer last time about pulling the shinai back after hitting. Okay, great. So yeah, okay, so I misunderstood your question. I thought you meant, last week, I thought you meant about after hitting, pulling the shinai back this way. But what you mean is when you hit, you're pulling the shinai back sort of this way. Let me see if I can demonstrate. I don't have much room in here, but sort of when you're swinging the shinai, Oh no, there's no way that's going to happen. I'm going to break something. When you're swinging the shinai, I've got one of my therabands here. My theraband. Okay, right. So when you're swinging the shinai, let's get in the shot. Instead of this way, instead of this action, you're kind of going like this way, like this, instead of this way. Okay. So the key to this is really using your left hand. Okay, your left hand to maneuver the shinai. All right, use your left hand to control the kensen. Okay, use the left hand at the bottom of the shinai to control the kensen. Okay, and push that when you're making the small men. Push that towards the ago, the throat of the opponent, and then trace the line of the tategane, the vertical metal bar on the mengane, trace that and then hit this way. All right, so you're pushing forward with the left hand, and the left hand makes this sort of motion like this way, like this way. Okay, and try not to use the right hand to pull back this way. So you want to keep the left hand behind the right hand at all times. All right, you don't want to have the left hand come in front of the right hand. Okay, it's going to take a lot of practice. You're going to have to focus on it when you do your like basic practice. Okay, and push from the left leg. What you can do as well, you can try to move your right foot very first. So push when you're in your distance, leave your left foot where it is, push from the left leg, push the right foot out, and then at the very last moment, bam, with the shinai. Give that a try too, might work. Hi Andy, I hope you're having a good week. I'm competing in Taikai this weekend and I've lost my voice. Most of my voice. I work as a lecturer, so not talking isn't really an option. And I'm wondering if it's going to be possible to score Ippon without Kiai. How should we adjust when we aren't able to use our voice? Thanks again to you and the YouTube robots for telling everyone about these brilliant Kendo videos. Great, thank you. So obviously, we really need to vocalize. Now it's difficult when you do use your voice like that. I think all you can do is vocalize as much as you possibly can without straining yourself, obviously, because you don't want to lose it further so that you can't work. Okay, now at the end of the day, if you make a fantastic strike, I mean, there's not a lot you can do. You know what I mean? You can't really go and ask the Shinpan for a special dispensation. It's not really how it works either. But if you make a good strike with good spirit, even if your voice isn't necessarily all there, especially if the tournament's quite big, you might not necessarily hear it anyway. So you'll, there's a good chance you'll make the good Ippon as well, especially if it's a fantastic, the fantastic opportunity. Okay. I wish you the best of luck with it. Okay, next one. Great Kendo video, thank you. The second men's strike was... Okay, so this one is from yesterday's feedback video. Okay, feedback video, but there's a question in it, so I thought I'd put it in here. Worth watching just for that. Fish Sensor, can you elaborate a bit more on the interaction connection between players? That's the right term. I think I caught the meaning. I could see the difference in the video when after a strike, there were a few times where the Zanshin died down a bit. Footwork became twitch relaxed, not completely, but a little, versus at least one strike when the Kamae was on immediately. I noticed that in my Jigeko sparring, I often allow myself a small break, relax on footwork, etc. after an exchange, as my partner and I step back to Torma or so. Do you have any advice or tips on training to reduce and increase this connection? It's really tough. It's really tough. But what we're talking about, so here is we all have this habit, right? I do as well, right? Where you're doing your keiko, like this, and then you'll make a hit. This way. Okay. Was that Ippon? Not maybe yes or not. Okay. Okay, let's start again. And it's best to try and avoid that as much as you can. Now, of course, you do need to take a bit of a break, otherwise you're going to like really run out of steam. But it's best to try to keep that connection as much as you can. So yeah, man. Next one, yeah. Put them. And then we're super eye. No hikiwaza. Okay, separate and keep that connection as much as you can. It's really difficult, but it is a super bad habit and it does manifest in Shiai and it really causes an issue for you in Shiai. the best way to train it is when you do like your normal kihonichi or like just your basic practice. And obviously like stuff like uchikomi and kakarigeko of course help too. But say you're doing 5 men strikes. Try not to take a mental break between those 5 men strikes. So not, yeah, man, yeah, so much, but yeah, step in and man, yeah. And I'm still concentrated. Do you know what I mean? I'm not like concentrating, not concentrated. My spirit's concentrated. Is that right? I don't know. Anyway, you know, not like, yeah, man, oh, what a brilliant man in Bonnie, yeah. Whew. Okay, let's walk back to a distance sort of thing. In your like basic practice. And if you can sort of instill it as a habit to keep that connected like spirit and seme, it'll flow through into your keiko and into your shiai as well. All right, it's super important. All right, but it's super hard because it's physically tiring. And I'm not saying you can't take a physical break, because you can, but you can't. What you don't want to do is take a mental break, which is equally as tough. Okay, give it a try. For a championship or an exam, I like to buy a new shinai, but often it seems that inside the shinai is still some loose pieces of bamboo or dust that is sometimes that. Is that something that's normal for the industry standard? The idea is I buy new so it's ready to go, but I buy new so I have to open it up first and clean it before I can go. For clarification, these are not KendoStar shinai. Okay, so look, there shouldn't be like loose bits of bamboo in the shinai. And it depends, but like if like sawdust type stuff comes out of the shinai, there's a bit of a red flag. Actually, it's not totally impossible, and if it's only a little bit, it could be from anything. It could just be like dust from storage or traveling or whatever. But if like when you hit like there's little clouds of dust coming out, that's often a symbol that the shinai could have been attacked by woodworm, or mushikui it's called in Japanese, or eaten by like bugs. They're usually not still in the shinai. It's just, but you can find the evidence of it by if you look at the shinai and maybe on the inside, you open it, there'll be little holes, like little tiny pinprick holes, maybe 1 or 2 millimeters wide, where the woodworm or the bugs have sort of burrowed through the bamboo. That shinai will break very quickly. It's not safe to use if that's the case. All right. So that is something to keep an eye on. All right. But yeah, I mean, there shouldn't be dust coming out. To be honest, I wouldn't say that's normal. I don't really experience that. Like there's obviously like when a shinai is brand new, and especially if you don't redo the nakayu or something like that, then sometimes it can be a bit creaky, like make a bit of a creaky noise. That's not the end of the world. Sometimes it's just the like the chigiri inside settling in or something like that. It's not the end of the world. But if there's like dust coming out, it could be a bit of a worry. Hi Andy, hope you're doing well. Yes, I am. As I'm the main instructor in my home dojo and I don't feel I have time to train myself for my next grade, which is Sandan, is there any advice you can give me so that I have a chance to train for Sandan? Thanks, Andy. Yeah, okay, so it's always going to be the case where you're going to, as a dojo leader, you're going to especially end up in a position where the majority of the people you practice with are sort of a lower grade or are newer to Kendo than you are. And that's fine, and that's normal, and it's normal in Japan too, right? You know, a lot of senseis in Japan are only doing Kendo with kids, for example. What you have to do is you have to try to figure out how you can use that keiko to also not only improve them, but improve yourself as well. Now, Sandan is that you know you're not getting into the realms of stuff that's too deep. We're basically looking at Sandan. We're looking for mastery of, you know, Kihon basics. All right. So all you need to do as you're working towards your Sandan is really focus on making sure you're getting your kiri kaishi up to scratch. your kikentai no ichi with your fumigomi is spot on. And your kikentai no ichi, as you do your yokome uchi, when you do your diagonal strikes, 4 forward, 5 back, that your kikentai no ichi is correct with that as well, that you're cutting as you draw the foot up, especially as you go back. A lot of people like what can I say, like cut on the sort of back foot as they step back and then raise on the front foot, and it kind of has this odd rhythm. So check that you're not doing that, and then making sure that your strikes themselves are nice and fulfilling the criteria of Yuko Tatotsu, and you manage that, you'll have no issue at all with Sandan, none whatsoever. And you can use your dojo mates to practice that, right? When you do your regular like Meichi practice, cultish practice, kodemen practice, anything like that, just make sure you're sharpening the technique, right? Because that's what they're really looking for at Sandan. Okay, I'm sure you'll manage. Next one. Hi, Sensei. I stumbled on a Reddit post these days in which an OP asks why don't online burger shops state a more precise measurement of the center of mass of the Shinai models being sold instead of more generic characteristics like Dobari or Chokudo. The post had some speculative answers, but I wonder if someone like you that owns a burger shop can clarify. My guess is that to get even average measures, one would need to measure or ask the supplier to measure a ton of Shinais. That would be quite time consuming and a very little benefit. As always, thank you for your awesome, great Kendo videos. You hear that, YouTube robots? Cheers. Okay, good. Yeah, I saw this post as well. I thought about commenting on it, and then something sort of took my attention away from it, so I didn't. But I did see it because I am on the Kendo Reddit, by the way. And I'll tell you exactly why we don't on KendoStar, for example. I'm bringing some Shinais over here so I can give you a bit of a practical demonstration. But I'll tell you why we don't really do that on KendoStar. And it's mainly because I've never, ever sort of looked at Shinai balance in that way. Like, where's the center of gravity on the Shinai? Like it's either Dobari or Koto, right? Or Chokudo, or just the standard. Or there's some sort of in-between stuff. And to be honest, I mean, I'm going to be controversial here now, and this might upset some people, but there's not a massive variance. Like even Shinai have the same model, yet 10 Shinai have the same model. They're pretty much all the same. They're not massively different. There's a slight difference, of course, because they're made of bamboo and they're hand shaved at some point, but the difference isn't huge. I think a lot of it is a bit of a, when you like people, I want to go in and feel the different balances. Like it's a bit of a what's it called? What's that thing? Placebo. Is that the right word in this case? I'm not sure. I think it's a little bit of a mental thing because they feel like they've put that effort in to get the best possible one. I don't think it's that, The thing is, Shinai is such an easy thing to like be really, really like particular about, and sometimes it can be a little bit over particular. And I've definitely been like that in the past. But let me just show you what I mean, right? So here's a Shinai that I've got. As you can see, this is a door body model. Okay, this is a door body model. It's very well used. Okay, it's very well used. It is a Shinai I've used quite a lot. This is the Shinai I actually used in the Shiai I did at Kenkaku. Actually, this is the Shinai I used there. Happens to be, and it's not in my Shinai bag at the minute because I'm kind of I'm really into Koto style Shinai at the minute, especially our Ichigeki model, which is a Jisen Koto. So it's like it's a slightly different balanced Koto Shinai. It's got a little bit more of a it doesn't feel heavy for a Koto. And then this is basically like that. This is one of the prototype models for that. Okay. That's why it doesn't have a KS sticker on it, by the way, because it is one of our models, but it is a prototype model. So as you can see, it's quite different. Yeah, you see that, right? This is the Koto, this is the Doba. You see how much fatter it is, so you can hide it right behind. Okay, it can peek behind the side. Okay, so let's look at these sort of center of balance. Now, I've never done this before, right? But the center of balance, it's like somewhere around here, I think. It's going to take me a second. I'm going to have to stand up to do it because it's not doing great in my my chair. Okay, so there it is. There it is. There's our center of balance. Okay. So you can see it's like just above that piece of leather there. Okay. You see that? See that? Okay. So you can see I am balancing it. I'm moving it. That's why it's falling. Right, now let's do the same thing with this kotogata. All right. So it was around. Now, what's funny with this is straight away, it's around the same place. Okay. There we go. See, it's around the same place. It's around the same place. Now let's look at where, if I compare these two shinai, that leather thing is the same place in both of them. All right. So we've got a door body and we've got a koto style shinai there, and their center of balance is about the same place. So, you know, having said that, if I hold this shinai now, okay, it's the door body one, okay, right, and then if I hold the other one, there is a definite difference in the feeling of the balance. Okay, definite difference. All right, and the grips are the same length, by the way. The tsuka are the same length. Yeah, because that's another thing that massively affects the balance of the shinai, of course, is the length of the tsuka. So I just think it's a bit of a nonsense to write it on there. I don't think it would make any difference whatsoever. And I'm not saying all shinai are the same sort of center of balance place. And maybe I'm measuring it wrong. Look, if you think I'm measuring it wrong, write it in the comments, you know. And if you're like, oh, you know, that would definitely help me decide which shinai, then fine, I'll go and measure them and we'll put them on the website. But it just seems like a bit of a... It just seems a bit nonsense. I feel like writing it on there will be like... I feel like it's like pointless sales talk, and I don't like that in that way. I'm not against sales talk, as you've probably seen, but I mean, like when it's like just rubbish, it's kind of, I'm not up for that. I don't work like that. Okay, so that's that. Okay, in one of the prior Kendo rants, you mentioned that you're only trying to hit men in Jigeko with high-level sensei. Paraphrasing, of course, I'm not going to try to hit Do. What's the rationale behind that? If the target you are going for is predictable, it is much harder to land a proper strike, even against a less skilled opponent. For example, if there's no risk of receiving kote, they will be less hesitant to perform ojuwaza on men, etc. This approach seems to make an already challenging task even more difficult. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? But it does and it doesn't, because it depends what the task is. So it's a great question. It's a great question. I've talked about it before, and it's a bit controversial. Not everybody agrees with me on it, but here's my take, right? When I practice with a high-level sensei, which for me is like, at this point, is like the Hachidan sensei, maybe some Nanadan sensei, depends. I'm at the point where I'm about to challenge Nanadan though. So for me, like Nanadan, it depends on the context of the Nanadan, of course. Depends on the person. Like if it's one of my sensei, like one of my sensei from years ago, he's a Nanadan sensei, I'd still practice with him as if he was the Hachidan sensei, because it's not about the dan grade. It's not just about the dan grade, right? But like if we're talking about like a Nanadan sensei that's, you know, like that's a different keiko for me at the point I'm at right now, because I'm challenging for their grade. It's more like a gokaku geiko. Whereas, and of course it depends on the person and the relationship I have with them. But if I'm going up against a Hachidan sensei, then yeah, I'm not going to start whipping out door strikes. Why would I do that? or skiing them or something like that. I've done it in the past when I was a kid and I thought I was cool, obviously, because I think this is the key. I think this is the key word in this whole question. All right, challenging task. All right, that's the key word. And why is it the key word? It's because what is the task when you are practicing with a sensei like that? See, for me, at least, it's not to hit them as many times as I can, right? It's not to try and make as many ippons as I can. That's not the point. That's not what I would benefit the most from a sensei like that. For me, it's about understanding how to achieve aiki, so and semeai, the connection with the sensei, and understanding when the timing I'm supposed to strike is. And that is often the sensei is showing me that. Sometimes they'll allow me to strike. Often they won't. Often they will show me the chance to strike so that they can make the ojiwaza or debana or something like that. And I have to accept that and strike anyway. I have to overcome the ego and fear of making an unsuccessful strike. Of course, I want to make the successful strike. Of course, I want to, but that's not the goal, right? It's not the goal of the keiko. Goal of the keiko is for me to benefit from my time spent with them, rather than just have a game of who can hit each other more. Instead, even though I know the strike will fail, can I overcome myself and attack with full spirit? You know? And it's not just men. It doesn't. I do hit kote sometimes. I try to hit kote sometimes, but I sort of had. I think I've had a few sort of epiphanies over the years in regards to this. And one such case was when I was practicing with an excellent Hachidan sensei who I thought was brilliant. He was quite young and he was a very, very successful competitive player, police officer, and I had this fantastic keiko with him, and I didn't fully understand yet this point of how best to achieve, how best to benefit most from practicing with a sensei like that. But I was sort of getting there, and then we had this great keiko, and then he said, "Okay, let's do ippon." Okay, so it's all right. I'm gonna really beat you now, and it is ippon, right? So it's the ippon shobu, so it's shobu now. So I have to try and win. That's fine. That is cool. And I sort of managed to hit this debano kote, and it was a good kote strike. But it's kind of like it was reflex. Like I didn't like set it up. It just popped off because, I was younger than I am now, and I had fast reflexes and I could move fast. I just hit this kote, bam, okay. And sensei's like, "Oh, you got me, good one." And I sort of, obviously I was like pleasing myself for winning the shiai, but the ippon shobu, but I kind of had this sort of creeping doubt in my mind where I felt a little bit like disappointed that all I managed to do was just manage to hit him faster than he could hit me, rather than like I couldn't create that datotsu. I was just kind of lucky that it happened. So, it kind of made me feel a little bit like, okay, well, it was like just luck. And what did I gain from that other than a feeling of happiness for having won? And that's not the point, right? So it's a bit of a complex one, and not everyone agrees with me on it. But like I say, I'm not like, and there is a flip side to it as well. Like, like trying to do tsuki or gyakudo and these sort of waza, I don't think you should be whipping those out on high level senseis, because what you start doing then is you're starting to challenge them and start saying like, no, there's no hierarchy here. We're on a level playing field, pal. Like that's the message you're giving, and that's rude. And you know, some people don't like the truth of that, but it is the truth. You know, that's that. But yeah, the fact is, yes, it is making it harder to make the strikes, and yes, it is predictable. And the sense, especially, is I don't hit until I think the sensei wants me to hit. Like I don't just randomly hit. I try to hit when they want me to hit. So of course they can easily make the strike, often. But every now and again, I get something right and I get one. And it's not the point that matters, but the process that led to me making the successful one. So you know, if I do a keiko with a Hachidan sensei, I feel like it's been a successful keiko if I've managed to make one successful strike. I've made one successful strike that I feel like was a good strike, and they like sincerely complimented or accepted, rather than just, oh yeah, well done, which is sometimes happens. Then I feel like that's successful, and in that process I'll probably receive 9 or 10 from the sensei, and that's cool because that doesn't matter because we're not competing, you know. So yeah. Is that I know it's a tough concept, and when I was younger I wasn't having it. Like when I was like 3rd dan, 4th dan, I was like, no, I'm gonna beat this sensei up, and they're gonna be like, wow, this guy is so good, because he just beat me up, and and yeah, it's pretty embarrassing to think back on that. And then I got said stuff that made me cry. It's the stuff said to me that made me cry, and it made me cry because I didn't understand it. I didn't understand. I was like, why are you saying it to me? I thought I was really good. Ah, dear. Kendo, what a journey. The next one, is it possible for Shinpan-Cho or Shinpan-Shunin to override a Shinpan decision, even in theory, since I've never seen it happen in practice? I'm not asking just about rule clarifications or after the team manager's complaint or Gorgi, but something more controversial like overriding the decision of who should be awarded Nippon. Okay, so this is a really interesting question. No. The Shinpan-Cho or Shinpan-Shunin does not have the power or authority to overrule the decision of the Shinpan-in. Okay, the Shinpan-in is the 3 Shinpan of the Shiai. Okay, so if one side hits men and the other side hits kote, then the Shinpan award the men, the Shinpan-Cho, Shinpan-Shunin can't stop them and say, so whoa, no, that was kote. You have to change to kote. They can't do that. Or if maybe they hit men and they give it, and then the Shinpan-Cho, Shinpan-Shunin says, stop. That was not good enough for Ippon. No, stop. You can't, no, take that away. They're not allowed to do that. Now, some Shinpan-Cho, Shinpan-Shunin don't always necessarily realize this, but they do not have that authority. The only people who have the authority to award, deny, or revoke Ippon are the Shinpan-in, which is the Shushin and the 2 Hukushin. The Shinpan-Shunin or the Shinpan-Cho can, after the Shiai, talk to the Shinpan-in and say, look, in this case, this really, you should consider this men Ippon, or you shouldn't consider this a main Ippon. But they often don't really say that either. In my experience, anyway, if you have, like, I was very honored to have a Japanese Hachidan sensei be the Shinpan-Shunin for my court at the European Championships when I was doing the Shinpan there, and they never ever questioned the validity of the points awarded. All they ever addressed was the way we moved or the way we apply the rules. Okay, when you call yame, you should make your arms straighter, or you should have the red flag in front, or something like that. but never, I never remember them calling into question the validity of the decisions that were made in regards to Ippon or Hansoku. So yeah, it is okay for them, of course, to say, look, this act happened. This act happened, and actually that's Hansoku, so please watch out for that in the future, because that's the application of the rules, right? So yeah, they do not have the power to do that, despite what some of them might think. The Shinpan-Cho is not like the ruler of the Shinpan, or the Shinpan Shunin is not like the boss of the of the court. They're not the monarch or the leader, the ruler. They are able to override and apply rulings based on the application of the rules. Okay, so let's say for example, a player clearly touches their shinai like this during the match. Okay, they clearly touch the shinai like this and then go back to fighting, and then the Shinpan don't do anything. They just freeze. Okay. In this case, I think there's probably the case for the kantoku of the team to call for igi, which is a request of the review, like a protest is not quite the right way, but to ask the Shinpan Shunin to clarify if that's correct, and then the Shinpan Shunin can say, no, he touched the shinai, you have to award him the hansoku. For example, I can't think of a good example other than that sort of thing, but if that makes sense. Okay, but no, they can't talk about awarding Ippon. Okay, next one. We're nearly there. First of all, to all the ninjas, Kendo. Yes. Now for the question. Do you have any advice on how to try to relax? I know very vague during keiko with Kodansha, high-level instructors. I'm at a dojo where luckily we have a number of 7th dan and 6th dan teachers, and I'm attending a session where there'll be 8th dan senseis coming from my area. I've been actively working on my kamae and applying seme, but more often than not, I feel myself completely overwhelmed by their presence. When facing these people, I get more tired and kind of locked. Maybe it's a mindset problem. Maybe the discrepancy in my skill. How do you deal with this and deal with this in the past? So you can't deal with it. You have to experience it. And I'll sort of answer this with advice that a very brilliant Hachidan sensei said to the students of a high school that he was the shihan of. He said to them, it's very important for you kids to make sure that when possible you ask for keiko with the sensei, because doing keiko with the sensei makes you nervous, makes you stressed, and makes you feel overwhelmed, just as you said. And this is the only way outside of the shiai that you can practice this feeling. So to prepare for the shiai, you must experience this through practicing with the sensei. Okay, so it is a feature of practicing with the sensei. Okay, it's normal and it's part of it, and you should expect it. Okay, so don't worry about it, but try to. Of course, I feel like that too. I'm stood in the line for the Hachidan Sensei. I'm like, why did I join this line? Do you think anyone will notice if I run away? This is the fight against ourselves, right? This is what we have to do. Okay. That's all I'd say on that. To be honest, I don't think there's a like, oh no, relax more or something like that. I think it's part of it, and it's normal and it's healthy. Okay. Okay, next one. Dear Fisher-san, I've observed that many of our beginners at the dojo are struggling with the extension of the right foot during strikes. Specifically, they tend to land with their knee positioned behind the ankle, which results in their weight being too far back. This posture compromises the sharpness and forward momentum of the strikes. To address this issue, I've introduced lunges to help them learn to move their hips forward rather than merely stepping out with their right foot. Good. This adjustment seems to aid in correcting their form. Could you suggest any specific exercises that might further facilitate the learning of this technique? Additionally, I've noticed that under pressure, I too struggle with committing fully to my strikes, particularly against more skilled opponents. I find myself holding back, landing with my weight too far behind. It seems I might also benefit from exercise that encourages stemming and striking, although overcoming my fear of being struck seems to be the underlying challenge. Thank you for any advice you can provide. Cheers. Okay, so yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of like extra exercises. I think you're right in what you're doing, getting them to do the lunges. I think this sort of thing is really, really comes from getting used to pushing off from the left leg. Yeah, understanding that fumikomi comes from fumikiri, which is the leap or the push from the left leg to launch the body forward to do the fumikomi. All right, it's really getting them to understand that you need to use the left leg to push their hips forward as they move forward and the right foot comes down rather than step out with the right foot. All right, so I would sort of emphasize that. Regarding being under pressure, committing fully to your strikes, as we just said, like if you can get the chance to practice with the high grade senseis, that's going to help. But also, the best way to do this is kakari geiko. It's not everyone's favorite answer, but it's the truth. Kakari geiko is fantastic for this. Learning to hit with full stemi. Of course, we are nervous that our strikes will not be successful, and we want our strikes to be successful, and that can cause us to hesitate. I had this feeling the morning of my last exam for my 6th dan. I was very nervous and concerned that what would I do if my strikes were not ippon or weren't able to connect with ippon. I'd already decided to myself that I wanted to make my shotachi, my first strike in both of my tachiai, as a men strike. But I was worried, what if they don't land? What if they hit me first? What if they do debana kote or kaishido? And I was concerned that I might not be able to fully commit to the strikes because I had these feelings of fear and doubt in my mind. But luckily for me, the morning before the Shinsa, there was a mini seminar that it had been a weekend seminar, and it had gone on to Sunday morning. The afternoon was a grading, and the Hachidan senseis were there, and I managed to get one last keiko with the Hachidan sensei. I just did that one keiko. I just went straight to Hachidan sensei, and all I did is I just hit the men repeatedly, knowing that they would fail. Okay, and I knew it was going to fail in the first place, so what's the point in hesitating or being afraid, right? I knew it was going to fail. So I was able to commit to everything and throw everything because I knew what would happen in the end. And that really, really helped me, okay? So see if you can manage to access that. If not, kakari geiko. It's the fact. All right. Okay, a few more. Okay, next one. Where I am, we don't often get to practice with high-level sensei, but I was able to attend a local seminar where I was pushed during a keiko with a 7th dan. Not pushed physically so much, but it was really challenging to my kendo mentality, focus and skill. Still working through the lessons of that particular keiko. However, I'll be going to a tournament in a couple of weeks, and I'm wondering if you have any advice going to a tournament while still in this sort of vulnerable phase where I'm trying to adjust a large chunk of my kendo. Lastly, I want to say thank you for encouraging the only go for men style of practicing with higher grades. I've never been so challenged and forced to grow. I did my best to do exactly this during the seminar. There we go. See, good. Look, you know, your kendo is always going to be on a continual journey of change, all right? It's always going to be evolving, changing slightly, going through different phases. There's no specific advice to say, okay, well, you know, just switch it off whilst you do the shiai. You know what I mean? You just have to go to the shiai, treat each match as an individual match in itself, and do your best and fight as hard as you can to win, okay? And if it doesn't work out, it's not the end of the world. Do it next time, all right? That's the only thing I can say. I don't think I can say to you like, oh, look, yeah, I know you sort of changing this and that. So, you know, maybe you're feeling a little bit unsure of yourself. So whilst you're at the tournament, think about that. I don't think that's how it works. I think you just have to go with everything that you've got as you are right now in the moment, and then put it all on the line and see what comes out the other side. Just treat every single match as its own entity, and as I say, make sure you use a big voice and you commit fully to your strikes. Don't ignore your opponent and just do your own thing. Try to watch what they're doing and try to adjust your strategy based on that. And I'm sure you'll do fine. I'm sure you'll do absolutely fine. All right. I'm sure you'll come away with it, having learned loads. All right. So don't worry about it too much. Okay. When lining up for Reiho at the beginning or end of a class and you have a bokuto with you instead of a shinai, do you place it on your left like you would a shinai, or is it typically placed on the opposite side? Also, do you place it blade in or blade out? Thanks for all you do for the Kendo community. Okay, so generally, I think the standard teaching, I don't think I've got my Zenkennen book here at the minute. Do I? I don't seem to be able to see it. So I don't have my Zenkennen book, so I can't see what it says in there right now. But the standard okay, I'd say I did find my Zenkennen book. It's the Japanese one, but it doesn't seem to be in there. So I haven't spent ages looking for it, but it doesn't seem to be in there anyway. But look, I think the standard practice is that the bokuto goes on the right with the blade facing in. However, like if you go to Japan, that's like totally dependent on the dojo. Some places just put it in the same as they do the shinai. All right. So you just follow whatever they do at the dojo. All right. And if it's your dojo, you're in charge. Do whichever one you prefer. All right. At my dojo, we put it on the right hand side because that's what I was taught when I started, and that's generally the standard practice here in the UK. So that's cool. That's fine. All right. And the blade should be facing in towards you. Yeah. Yeah. I hope that helps. And we're at the last one. Hello, Sensei. Does the concept of Dojokun exist in a Kendo dojo? I've been to karate dojos before, and their Dojokun is quite visible. Also, some karate dojos get their students to recite them at the beginning of class, which almost sounds cultish. However, aren't us Kendoka cultish in a way too? Just curious if this was a karate thing or a Japanese martial arts thing. Your insight and opinions are appreciated. Thanks. So Dojokun is like it's like a dojo, like it's not like a motto, but like a dojo, like mission statement almost, I think, or like it's like a piece of text that's like that. Yeah, I think mission statement's quite a good idea of thinking of it, but like essentially what the dojo stands for. Lots of Japanese dojos have them. Kendo dojos have them. Yeah, it's not unusual at all. And I've been to ones where especially kids dojos. And I've been to ones where the kids recite it as well. That's not unusual at all. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's kind of cool. I like it. I don't think it's cultish. It's no more cultish than the rest of Kendo, exactly as you say. So yeah. But yeah, it is a thing. And I think obviously because in like outside of Japan, we don't often have like our own dojo. Like we often rent like a place. So we can't like leave stuff on the wall and stuff. I think that's why it's probably less common, but it certainly is a thing. Certainly is a thing. So there we are. We've reached the end of the questions. Thank you everybody for sending them in. Thank you for joining me all the way to the end. I hope you have a fantastic weekend of Kendo ahead of you. I certainly do. Don't forget to shop at KendoStar, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.